Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. All daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including $40 5% best bets. As an added bonus, all new users will receive $25 in WagerBucks credited to their accounts, available for immediate use after their initial $9 Monday purchase. So make sure to take advantage of $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com.
Welcome into First Pitch, WagerTalk's premier MLB betting show for June 14th. We're going over tonight's slate, Monday's slate here. We got best bets at the end. Tony Finn and Bryan Leonard are joining me here from WagerTalk.com. And remember, guys, it is $9 Monday. Great day to check out both websites, Sports Memo and WagerTalk.com. First up here, Tony Finn, live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Tony, welcome in. Happy Monday morning to you.
You know my mantra. It's a good day when I wake up. Let's get it on.
Any day above ground, it's a good day for Tony Finn. So, Tony, always good to have you. And Bryan Leonard here from WagerTalk.com, #1 in MLB over the last 4 years. So check him out at the website. Bryan, welcome in. Happy Monday morning to you as well, buddy.
Yes, happy Monday to everyone. And great time to be betting sports with baseball in full swing, playoffs and basketball and hockey. And yeah, it's a good time to, if you enjoy sports like we do, it's a good time to be in the business.
Absolutely underrated. You know, after March, some people get a little bit worried, Bryan, but you're right. I mean, playoff time on the ice, playoff time in the association, and we got MLB going strong. So hopefully find you some winners on today's slate, guys. First game up here, East Coast, 7:05 Eastern, competitively priced game between the Pittsburgh Pirates and Washington Nationals. Brubaker, this kid's good, Tony, versus Lester. Lester's had some questionable starts, his last two, more walks than strikeouts. I actually like the dog here, but it's always tough to bet the Pirates. How are you feeling about this one, Tony? We're seeing Washington -120 and a total of 9 in our nation's capital.
Well, I'm going to pull up some notes because I wrote these down or typed these down for a reason, because I thought they were beyond what they are was notes from last year. And we're speaking of Leonard in particular, and I apologize. You never choose me first, so I wasn't quite prepared. I usually would have the notes up. So I'm going to pull these up. But I know this, and that is that Bryan and I, we discussed Leonard. It must have probably been a month ago or so when one of the starts. And, you know, I was probably a little bit bold and a little bit when I said that as far as I'm concerned, he shouldn't be anywhere near. If you're a fantasy player, should be nowhere near your fantasy roster. And for the most part, he's a fade, at least in my world or in my orbit. And I can't find my notes on him, but I'll speak to it anyway. So, like last year, his first 3 starts were really pretty good. I mean, surface-wise, the numbers look good. And we're talking about the 2020 season, the 60-game sprint when he pitched for the Cubs. But if you look at my last 2 notes on Lester, one of them was over his last 8 starts, he had given up 10 home runs. His velocity had fell off about 3 miles an hour, and it had already fallen off 2 miles an hour from the 2018 season, which was really a season where he outpitched his peripherals. He had a high 3 ERA, and his xFIP were closer to 5. This guy's a 37-year-old trying to resurrect his career in Washington, and Washington has a history of bringing on a savvy veteran that has some experience. Why? Because somebody's always injured on that damn staff. If it's not Strasburg, if it's not Max, it's somebody. Somebody is always injured. And what he's done this year, you look at his first 3 starts, very similar to what he had with Chicago last year. Looks pretty good, but every single peripheral, everything he's done points at a guy and points at 2 things. One is he shouldn't be not in any 5-man rotation in the 30 teams. I don't have him in my top 100. 150 pitchers on average every week or every day are listed in a 5-man rotation for 30 teams. And he doesn't even rate in the top 125. He just doesn't. In fact, it will not surprise me if he doesn't finish the season with another team or at home and not with the Nationals. We'll go to Brubaker. Brubaker's was great for 7 starts. I think he had an ERA below 3. Was really kind of a surprise for most, although not to Pittsburgh and not to that organization. He's a reliable guy. His last 4, a little bit questionable, but most of those came in most of his bad numbers or the figures across his last 4 starts came in a couple or 1. This is a similar start, guys, to 2 starts ago when he had when he faced Colorado at home. Now, I'm comparing Colorado, their road numbers, to Washington. Washington ranks number 25th in the league right now, offensive efficiency against right-handed pitching, like Brubaker today, as a dog in the nation's capital. Book it.
All right. And Bryan, coming to you now, Lester down to like 88 miles per hour. I don't actually disagree with a lot of what Tony said. I'm looking to fade Lester. Brubaker, a guy that's been good. He's been blown up a couple times, but overall really good. 6th-round pick out of Akron, Maction there for you, Bryan. But what are you thinking tonight, Pittsburgh and Washington?
Yeah, back from my alma mater. I went to Akron and graduated in 85. Yes, they had an Akron U back in 1985. Tony mentioned that he wasn't used to being picked first. I think that's just latent memories from when he was a child in pickup games.
Yeah, that's true. That's damn true.
Yeah, well, yeah, I had some pretty good players in my neighborhood. So
they didn't like to pick the guy that had the gun around his waist. I don't understand it, but they just didn't pick him. Go ahead.
Brubaker, I'm a big fan of Brubaker, but his best work was earlier in the season. His last 3 road starts, game scores 51, 33, 33. So he hasn't been quite as good as of late. But it's tough for me, and I can't disagree with anything Tony said about John Lester. If other teams had quality players coming up from the minors to start, especially Washington, they'd be in the lineup instead of Lester. That said, we're looking at the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have a WRC plus of 77 on the season against righties. That's worse than baseball. So you got the worst hitting team against right-handers on the road, where they're 10 and 22 on the season, a team who has lost 7 straight games, and you're getting them in really close to a pick-em price here. No, I'm not a big fan of Lester, but to get Washington at home in this situation against Pittsburgh, who's not very good, they're not hitting well. They had another injury again yesterday. I think it's a little bit of value here on the host, especially coming off of splitting 4 games with the Padres. Not that the Padres are playing great ball right now, but
Guys, we got a little technical difficulties there on Bryan's end, but it sounds like maybe towards the Nationals look from Bryan. At least he said enough there to keep me off of the Pittsburgh Pirates side. So we'll maybe get his final thoughts there on that game for the second game. And usually I come up against, Tony, you talked about going up first here, and usually down the show I switch it up, go one handicapper and then the other handicapper, but I don't know. Hopefully, I didn't throw you off too much.
I couldn't find my notes.
Oh, okay. I get you. Hey, I'll take the blame for that, Tony. But you're gonna need to go first again here with the second game until we get Bryan back up. Okay. We got the Chicago Cubs and the New York Mets, 7:10 Eastern. Looks like 11 miles per hour wind blowing out to left center, 72 degrees in New York. We got the Mets minus 115 favorites here, 8.5 being the total. Tony, we get Arrieta versus Peterson. Peterson, a guy, Tony, his last 2 starts, he's totaled 3 innings, 9 earned runs, 4 walks, and 11 hits. I don't know if I can be betting on the Mets with Peterson on the hill. He is a former first-rounder in 2017. Interested if he can kind of bounce back here against the Cubs. What are you thinking in New York, Tony, Cubs and Mets?
Well, I can bet you against Arrieta. So, I mean, I guess it's going to be similar kind of to what the argument Bryan had for me, which he's absolutely correct. I mean, the Pirates, they're not the best offensive lineup. They're not scaring too many pitchers. However, when they do win, it's one of the reasons they have one of the worst offenses. The games they lose, almost every one, if you look at them, they've scored 1 run against pedestrian pitchers here I'm off track though. They've been able to score in this situation. I trust Peterson to do a couple things. I trust him to miss bats. I trust him to rear back and throw as hard as he can for as long as he can, and I trust that the Cubs are who they are. They're inconsistent. This is a team that we still have question marks about. I don't have any question marks about Arrieta, but I do have question marks about what they're going to do. They're in first place, and here I am saying, are they going to be sellers at the trade deadline? Because that's really what they've done. They've done really on the offseason. They kind of dismantled this playoff team, but they've gotten great seasons out of some players that had struggled last couple of years and put them in a situation to be sellers. So in a game that's a toss-up, and in a game that where you're absolutely correct about Peterson and the fact that he can implode. I like the way the Mets are hitting the ball. I like the way they've finally gotten healthy. I like the way they've finally pushed some of those guys they picked up off the street to fill their lineup because of injuries to the bench. And I'll trust them to be better. I'll trust Peterson, which is hard to do, to be better than Arrieta, which isn't hard to do. And that would be my lean. I stayed away from this game. I try to run as far and as fast as I can from Arrieta because I'm rarely right about him. I haven't been. And while I had to put my hand on a hot stove about 5 times before I realized it really is hot, I've learned my lesson with Arrieta.
Nice metaphor there, Tony. Big fan of those. And guys, throwing a little quip here about the Cubs bullpen. Kimbrel has gone 3 straight days. So their closer, by the way, the Cubs bullpen, very good. Top 5 in MLB, at least by my numbers here. But their closer likely not going to be available tonight. Bryan, coming to you back. If you had any closing thoughts there on the Pirates and Nats, we lost you for a little bit. And also your thoughts here, Cubs and Mets, Bryan.
Yeah, I don't know where you lost me, so I won't talk about that other than I prefer the home side. Yeah, in this one, it's hard to make a case for either team because of how bad these starters have been. The last 7 starts, J.K. Arrieta's ERA 7.20. His last 5 starts, he's never gone past 5 innings. In 2 of those games, his starts were 2 innings and 3.2 innings. So we take a look at David Peterson. His last 7 starts, 6.83 ERA. His last 2 starts, the good news is between his last 2 starts, he gave up 1 home run. Bad news is those 2 starts combined were 3 innings total. So we've got 2 guys that really are not pitching well at this point, and so I would have to take a look at the over. The only thing that concerns me is the Cubs played last night, had to travel, and those 3 games against the St. Louis, they swept St. Louis. That's their biggest rival. And they talked about that after the game. It was a big party atmosphere in Chicago. It was actually a lot of fun to watch that game and watch the fans last night. I mean, with the beer snake and all. I mean, that was a fun atmosphere. I kind of wish I had been there. It looked like it was a lot of fun. The players had a lot of fun. Now they got to get on the plane, travel to New York. New York's playing very well, 17-6 at home so far this year. So if it's anything for me, it would be Mets and over because the Mets have been so good at home and the spot for Chicago having to play that game and travel. But I think the over is probably the better way to go. In fact, maybe we combine those and we have the Mets team total over in this game, and I think it'll work out just fine.
All right, I like it, Bryan. Yeah, good breakdown. We got Abby in the chat box saying, Bryan, the truth, Leonard. And you're right, Bryan, that atmosphere in Wrigley Field, that was pretty wild. That beer snake they had going, it was what, 100% capacity. It was packed, Sunday night baseball. You're right, man. It makes me feel like, going to a game, especially at Wrigley Field. I bet Wrigleyville was pretty wild last night, but it's the quintessential, as we can use for sports bettors here, guys. Bryan talked about it, the Sunday night fade. They're actually going on the road now after that, great game last night against their rival, like Bryan talked about. Circle this as the quintessential, Sunday night baseball fade, the team having to travel here, Bryan. It really, spot-wise, this is a terrible spot for the Cubs, man. About as bad as it gets, right?
Yeah, it definitely was. And I've been to Wrigley Field once. I think I went when I was 25, so I was still young at the time. But I sat behind the plate, and I talked to a couple next to us that had season tickets, and I said, yeah, I was thinking about sitting out in the bleachers. She goes, Oh, good thing he didn't do that. Those people are drunk and crazy out there. They got paddy wagons waiting outside after these games. And after I was hearing what was going on out there, I believed it. It's a young man's game out in the bleachers. If you saw that the show yesterday, the game yesterday, there wasn't many people over 30 out there in the bleachers.
Yeah, it looked like really fun party time, guys. But yeah, it looks like you're kind of seen there, Tony. You would have enjoyed the bleachers.
Of course, I would have. Yeah. Well, I would have enjoyed the most thing I would have enjoyed was I have the under season total on the Cardinals, and I think they were drunk as the people. Have you ever seen Davies throw more 77-mile-an-hour fastballs that were swings and misses than the Cardinals? It was a beautiful thing until I decided I want to back Adam Wainwright again. I backed him. I faded with Adam, but I've backed him twice this year, and he's cashed for me. So I'm off track, but I damn sure would have enjoyed that scene at Wrigley too. Absolutely.
Yeah, it looked great. Good to have crowds back anyway, and that Wrigley atmosphere was pretty good. But making our way down here, guys, 2 games left, and we got best bets at the end, heading to the AL East here for a good one. Toronto Blue Jays, Boston Red Sox. We get Alex Manoah versus Eovaldi, the hard-throwing righty for the Red Sox. We're seeing Boston minus $1.25. They've actually been bought up here to minus 130, Brian. We get Manoah, the South Florida product, former first rounder from West Virginia, had that high strikeout rate coming out of the minors. He's had 2 good starts, 1 bad start. The bad start was against the Marlins, go figure. The good starts were against the White Sox and the Yankees. So kind of a difficult handicap, but a fun one to talk about here. Blue Jays and Red Sox tonight, Brian.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I noticed the same thing, the 2 on the road. He looked really good. And he's going into Boston, which is usually a very good hitter's park, which we have seen. The first 3 games of this series, scoring 11, 9, and 22 runs. 8 home runs yesterday for Toronto. These are 2 teams I would really want to play an under on in this ballpark, and I'm not looking for the under here either. Manoah's a guy who's been very good so far, but as we've seen out of these rookies, and it happened once again to Kowar for Kansas City this weekend, it's tough to back these rookies when they're playing in their first 5 or 6 starts unless they've been really good. And for the most part, Manoah has. But Nathan Eovaldi is one of those guys. When he's good, he is really good. When he's bad, he's really bad. And he was bad his last start, home against Houston, 5 earned runs in 5.2 innings. There was 14 base runners in 5.2 innings against Eovaldi last time out. The only way I could look in this game, and I'll keep it simple, is the over. Just the way these 2 teams are hitting right now. And I'm not overly impressed with either starter. They've been middle of the road, slightly better in certain situations. But the bats are hot right now. And if you can get hitting like the way they've been so far in this series, I can't go anywhere but the over on this.
Yeah, Toronto, putting up 18 runs just yesterday, Tony, one of the hottest lineups in baseball. Yeah. And Brian touched on it. Eovaldi, when he's good, he's a high-velocity guy. He's really good. But his last 2 starts, giving up, 19 hits. It almost makes me think maybe he's tipping his pitches, something of that nature, Tony. Watch out for that tonight. But, Tony, what are you thinking here, Blue Jays and Red Sox in Fenway?
Speaking, I think I wrote these down. I think I found my notes. No, I'm kidding. Eovaldi has been, if you look at his surface numbers, they're okay. He's got a low 4 ERA. However, his FIP is he's been better than his surface numbers, which is deceiving. As Bryan explained to me, he's got 4 starts that were quality starts, where he gave up a total, I think, of 3 earned runs. In his other 9 or other 8 starts, he has 4 where he's given up more than 5 earned runs, and 4 where he's given up almost nothing. It's absolutely it's maddening to try to handicap a pitcher like that. If you can find the common denominator between of all the starts, the good and the bad, if you think you can put your finger on something that's a key, then please share it with me, because I'll pay you for that information, because I stay away from Eovaldi. Typically I do, unless I'm fading him, unless I really like the other team. And I really like what Toronto's doing offensively. They're only 4-4, guys, over the last 8 games. However, those games came against Houston, the White Sox, the Red Sox. This is this is game 4 of that series, the Monday closing the series out. And the umpire's a really good fit for a pitcher. He's definitely pitcher friendly. He's the aberration to the Jerry Meals crew. Jerry Meals, if you guys know Jerry Meals and what he is as an umpire, his nickname, and he's nicknamed by the players. What are they nicknamed? Bread Box. Why are they naming him Bread Box? It's the size of his strike zone. That's Jerry Meals. It's a little different today, and both pitchers will benefit from the umpire. Both should benefit in a lot of ways, but in this situation, a Boston Red Sox team that's been inconsistent, that still can hit the ball, the pitching staff's been really bad. I faded Perez a week ago. I wish I'd faded him again yesterday. This team got bombed yesterday by Toronto. Everything in the highlights. I just watched it. And I said, is this batting practice? Because these guys were just teeing off on Boston. It didn't matter who they put out there. How they could put Pedro out there. I think this Toronto team would have hit him yesterday. So I like the fact that this rookie has got plus stuff. He's got 3 pitches plus stuff, and the most important pitch, a plus pitch, is the changeup, which is a terrific pitch to use against this Boston lineup. That's typically patient, but that's the pitch that's the weak spot in their lineup. A lineup that's shown can hit the ball. You go with a rookie. None of these Boston players have ever seen this rookie. And almost everybody on this Toronto lineup, even young ones, have seen Evo. So I have a strong lean here towards Toronto. I like Toronto. I like the way they're playing. I don't like the way the other than the 3-game sweep the Sox had against the Yankees, and they kind of had a hangover and a few trips to the Porcelain Queen after that 3-game series because they have been inconsistent and bad, especially the pitch staff since. I'll go the opposite of what Bryan was saying when he didn't like both pitchers. I like this rookie. I'll back him tonight in Toronto as I think small dog, $1.10.
Yeah, even a little higher now, guys. And we'll actually revisit this one in best bets, but we got one game left. And, the new graphics, Robert and Joe behind the scenes really making it happen, showing the AL East standings there. And if you saw it, it was the Tampa Bay Rays on top. We got the number 1 and number 2 teams in baseball here, Bryan, going by record. 41-24 for the Chicago White Sox and 42-24 for the Tampa Bay Rays. So number 1 and number 2 in baseball. We get Glasnow versus Lynn here. Rays and White Sox. And our nightcap for the show here, Bryan, 8:10 Eastern, 73 degrees on the south side. What are you liking here, Rays and White Sox, Bryan?
I can't wait for this game. This is a game that I've had circled to watch. Not only do you have the 2 best teams by record-wise in the American League, you've got their aces going as Lynn's had a tremendous year for the White Sox. Here's a couple stats. Well, we'll give you 3 stats here that maybe a lot of people didn't know. As good as the White Sox have been this year, Tampa Bay has got a better record on the road than the White Sox have at home. The White Sox are 11-16 on the season while playing teams with a 500 or better record. That means they're 30-7 on the season when playing a losing team. 30-8 when playing a losing team, and we saw them just sweep, the Detroit Tigers. 11-16 playing a team with a winning record. Tampa Bay, 26-16 playing a team with a winning record. That's a 15-0 difference here. So that means to myself, if there's any kind of pitching matchup that's close, I'm looking to take Tampa Bay here. And as good as Lynn has been, and he has been terrific, he's also been very good against Tampa in his career. His last 5 starts, I believe he's got a 2.63 ERA. This is going to be a pitcher's battle. This is going to be a low-scoring game, and I think Tampa Bay wins it. I talked about betting Toronto possibly, or one of those games earlier, the Mets, I believe it was, on team runs over. I think the White Sox under in team runs is the way to look at this one. Team total under for the White Sox. It's a terrific game, but I think that takes advantage of everything we have here. I think it'll be a low-scoring game, and I think the White Sox have a tough time scoring, and let's go that way. The White Sox team total under is my best bet on this one.
All right, Brian, good stuff there. And Tony, the two best teams in baseball. And also when you look at these two starting pitchers, you just go down the line. Yeah, they have had just a couple hiccups, but it's, 7 innings, 8 innings, 9 innings, 6 innings, 7. It's just solid down the road. When you look at their game logs here, Tony, Lance Lynn, 72 to 17 strikeout to walk ratio. Glasnow good as well. Kind of speaking here towards Brian and what he was saying. But at the same time, both offenses are good, Tony. So talk about number one and number two, possible AL Championship Series preview here, Tony. What are you thinking between the White Sox and Rays tonight?
Well, listen. Lynn has been since the 60-game sprint since last year. I made some money on Lynn last year. I really did. I still believe that a pitcher like Lynn struggles in the environment and the landscape we play baseball in. I think he's pitched far above his pay grade this year. I think you're going to see him back up quite a bit here once the weather starts warming up and the balls are traveling out, and he's giving up some home runs and not missing enough bats. He's really benefited from a 222 BAP and an 88% strand rate this year. So unsustainable for a guy like Lynn. And Glasnow, although he's been kind of inconsistent, he's been really good. He's been really good. This is a really good spot for him. Why? He's not left-handed. Right? So the White Sox facing a right-hander, a guy like Glasnow with Lynn. And Tampa Bay, and in truth, Tampa Bay, early in the season, I thought that they were doing exactly what their plan was, and that was kind of, they let go of some guys that I thought they were going to retool. I think their plan was to retool. But at this point in time in the season, where they're sitting and the way they're playing, and if they begin to hit left-handers, they've hit them better this last month than they did early in the season. They're not striking out at 35% rate. Then I think they're tough out. I think they're tough out in that AL East with the way the Yankees are just not hitting the ball and showing no signs of being able to do it. And a Red Sox staff, I think, a pitching staff that's not going to be good enough to win that division. The Rays are the team. Truthfully, it may be Toronto, maybe the Jays and the Rays in September. It'll be interesting to watch it, though, for certain. And I am like Bryan. I like the Rays today. I really like the Rays. This price with Glasnow on the mound against Lynn, who I have no problem playing against.
Yeah, liking the Rays, up 14 units on the season. So if you've been betting $100 on the Tampa Bay Rays all season long, every game, you're up $1,400 just doing that blindly. Rays have been a great bet for multiple seasons now. I mean, talk about their front office, Tony. It's one of the best in sports, what they're able to do with their budget. It's pretty crazy. And Brian, I actually have a handicapping question for you because I already know Tony's answer the way he was alluding towards it and brought it up. He talked about Lance Lynn in the 88% strand rate, meaning that's how many times he's leaving, runners on base. If you're not familiar with strand rate out there, but Brian, I want to ask you because Tony said, it's not sustainable, and I don't disagree with him. But do you think there's something to kind of talent changes with going from, the stretch in the windup that actually maybe it could be a little bit more sustainable than just, not sustainable at all?
Yeah, I've seen pitchers in the past that have actually started pitching with nobody on base in the stretch because they've had a lot more success in that regard. So it has happened in the past. In fact, Tony mentioned the 88%. John Means on the season is at 100%. Now, John Means has been terrific all season long, but he has not let a runner score that ended up on base. He's just been terrific in that regard. Well, that can't continue. I mean, there's regression, and Tony and I both like to follow the advanced stats, as do you, and we know that there's some changes coming. The pitcher for the Cardinals, Gant, all season long, the guy couldn't lose. He found his way out of trouble all season long. And in fact, I did a show with Dave Koken a few weeks ago, and he talked about that. He said, my numbers keep showing me to fade Gant. He says, but I'm not going to do it until it happens once when he gets hit. And what have we seen? The last 3 times Gant has been out there and he's gotten bombed every time. So great point by Tony and a great point by Dave saying that. So I firmly agree. You've got to take the root stats, and even though the results are different, you've got to be able to know what the root stats are. And Tony's been excellent in that regard.
Yeah, good stuff, Brian. Love the breakdown. Tony, thanks for bringing that up as well. And shout out to the chat box right now, guys. Live all show long. Abel, Dave, C. James, Christian Larson saying John Means was using the sticky stuff. Of course, sticky stuff being a big subject here in MLB. Maybe looking to bet overs going forward, the spin rate down, however you want to look at it. But guys, if you are liking the content here, please smash that like button. And again, huge shout out to the chat box. If you're watching on replay, feel free to leave a comment below. Let us know what you're betting on and what games you want to hear about going forward this week, each and every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel, 1:45 Eastern, 10:45 a.m. Pacific. Guys, time for best bets right now. We'll start off here with Bryan Leonard from the state of Florida before he heads back to Las Vegas. Brian, you know what? I actually saw your best bet. I don't like looking at the guys' best bets because I like to have my own and not have it influence me. But on Mondays, I always feel like there might be questions or something. I saw your best bet. I only bet 2 games on the board, and yours is one of them, man. I like this play a lot. So where are you going for best bets tonight?
Well, Tony's on the show with me, and that means if Austin Gomber's going, I'm interested. Tony and I have gone back and forth on Austin Gomber all season long. I actually had like a little bit of a bet with him, and he beat me. That was when Gomber wasn't very good. But Gomber, every other start has been excellent. He's one of those guys that's been terrific. In fact, the side is going to be my play in this, but I wouldn't be opposed to playing the under in this game either. You take a look at San Diego on the season against lefties. Their WRC plus is 85, 15% worse than league average. Colorado, a league worse, WRC plus is 67 versus righties. So they've been 33% worse against righties. San Diego 16-15 on the road. The Rockies 20-14 at home. This Rockies team is like 2 different teams. It's always been that way. This year's the dichotomy has just been amazing. Just a terrible team on the road. I believe 4-22 last time I looked, and 20-14 at home. But you've got a team here from the San Diego. Now, yesterday they scored 7 runs, I believe. But you go back their last 8 games, 6 of those last 8 games, they've only scored 2 runs or less. So they haven't hit well against lefties all season long, and they've been especially poor overall hitting lately. Lament, he's got a 50 average game score his last 6 starts this year. In fact, all his 6 starts this year because he's missed some time. That's league average. Austin Gomber, 60, much better his last 7 starts. So you got Gomber, who's pitching really well right now, and he's actually faced San Diego twice this year. Game scores of 64 and 63. Get this, his ERA after facing San Diego twice, once at home and once on the road, 0.79. Now, there will be regression. I know there's regression coming. But until it happens, I'll take a look at what Dave said. We're going to wait for it to happen before I make the move on it. Lament's a guy, he's still building up his innings. His high was last time out, 78 pitches. So we've got a situation here where Lamet's probably going to go 5 innings. In fact, he hasn't gone longer than 5 innings all season long. And I like Colorado here, getting him as a nice dog. And it wouldn't surprise me if this is another low-scoring game because neither of these teams have been able to hit a lick against these handed pitchers.
Tough follow-up there. I like the Rocks as well. Mile high with Bryan. And guys, for my best bet, I'm heading to the AL East, Fenway Park, Toronto Blue Jays plus 122. Alex Manoah on the hill, former South Dade High School, West Virginia product, former first rounder, high strikeout rate, guys. I'm looking to bet on this young kid. This young pitcher has actually had 1 bad start. The velocity was down, but his last start out, velocity ticked back up. So I'm going to bet on him here against the Boston Red Sox. And Eovaldi on the hill for the Sox. He's been really good. He's also been touched up a little bit of late, giving up 19 hits his last 2 starts, which makes me think maybe he's tipping his pitches, something of that nature. Now having to go against one of the hottest lineups in baseball. They also smash righties. Talking about the Blue Jays here, I think the plus price on Toronto, just scoring 18 runs yesterday, so plus 122 on the Blue Jays is my best bet for the show. And Tony Slick Finn here, WagerTalk.com, guys, $9 Monday. Tony, where are you going to finish us off here? Best bets.
Well, I gave you a pretty good outline, at least lots of reasons why and who, and that would be Pittsburgh over Leicester. And as much as this is a play on Pittsburgh, it's more of a play against Leicester. Of the lineups in baseball right now, Leicester's been around a while, as everyone knows. He's the household name here. I thought the price is wrong here. And truth, I think the Brubaker and Pittsburgh should be the favorite, as hard as that may be to swallow, because of their offense and they're challenged offensively. Of the lineups in baseball right now, this Pittsburgh team actually sports a lineup that would be the third best lineup against Leicester in his career. The two teams better than Pittsburgh, the Dodgers and the Angels, historically. And that's of teams that have over 50 at-bats. And all three of the teams I just mentioned have over 100 bats officially against Leicester. And Pittsburgh has a pretty nice little slugging percentage, almost 400. On base is good. And they're hitting about 275 against Leicester in his career. So, and right now, I would say Leicester's not as good, not even close to being as good as he's ever been or ever was. And while he's known for his propensity to be really good in postseason, Leicester was always that guy that was savvy. He never dominated or overpowered anybody, but he knew how to pitch. And he's just, at this point in time in his career, I think he's a safe play against. I'm on Pittsburgh plus money.
Like it. Pirates plus the money there. First game we talked about, guys. In recap for the best bets, I am on the Toronto Blue Jays plus 122. We got Bryan Leonard, Rockies plus 130, and Tony Finn, Pittsburgh Pirates plus 110. 3 underdogs plus prices for you. 4 best bets for Tony Finn, Bryan Leonard. I am Drew Martin. Guys, please smash the like button on your way out. Thanks for tuning in. Steve Merrill, Dave Koken. Tomorrow, come back and join us 1:45 Eastern. Right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. Best of luck with your bets. We'll talk tomorrow.
Each and every Monday is $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. All daily picks packages are priced at only $9, including $40 5% best bets. As an added bonus, all new users will receive $25 in wager bucks credited to their accounts, available for immediate use after their initial $9 Monday purchase. So make sure to take advantage of $9 Mondays at WagerTalk.com.